Hey, how are you? It's been like a hot minute since I recorded a video. I think the last one I recorded on this channel was the Robin Hobb Assassin's Apprentice review, which was like forever ago. I think I read that like even in 2018. I'm not 100% sure. So this is going to be an October wrap up, but not only is it just going to be October, but I'm going to do some of the books from like earlier this year too. Um, I'm not going to go into too much detail because like I honestly don't remember a lot of the stuff that I read, but it's been a hot minute and I want to record something because it's been a while. I'm going to start with usually I feel like I used to do this in the order of like the books that I liked the least to the books that I liked the most over the course of the year or the month, but I don't remember them. So I'm just going to go with like reverse chronological order, starting with the book that I read most recently, which was You by Caroline Kepnes. That book took me on a journey. It was so uncomfortably creepy. Basically, this dude ends up stalking this woman for the entirety of the book, and it gets creepier and creepier and creepier as he gets more possessive and more aggressive. And it just, it was so weird being in the mind of like someone who is so clearly unstable, like real bad. Um, and just how he rationalizes all the stuff that he does and how he always says that he's doing it for God, what's her name? Beck. How Joe is always doing this for Beck, like everything he does is for her. And it's just, it gets creepier and creepier and creepier. And like, even though Joe is an awful person, throughout the story, you kind of get to see that Beck is also sort of an awful person. Basically, everyone in that story is an awful person, and you shouldn't feel bad for any of them, except for maybe Ethan. Like, he's just kind of pure and simple. There was a point in the story where I actually started to feel bad for Joe, like towards the end of it, and I had to be like, no, Stephen, he is an awful person. Do not feel bad for him. I gave that one 5 stars because it was incredible. It creeped me out a lot, and I really enjoyed it. And before that, I read um, The Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in the Wheel of Time series. I'm slowly making my way through the Wheel of Time. I kind of want to finish it by the end of next year, but I also am realistic and realize that I probably won't. I just probably won't. Um, since it's the third book in the series, I can't really explain what it is without spoiling the first two, but since the books are from like the 80s, I feel like most people would have probably read them if they wanted to. Can you really complain about spoilers if it's 30 years past? But like I'm gonna be vague. It's not like it's anything you haven't heard before. It's just like a dude discovers that he is a chosen one and then goes on an adventure to save the world. But like it's good. Yeah. I don't really care so much for the main character, Rand. That's his name. I don't really care so much for Rand. I mostly read the story for the more side characters, especially Nynaeve, which I think is how you pronounce her name. I've never bothered to look up a pronunciation guide for any of these characters' names. But Nynaeve is my favorite because she's because she is just so angry and just so angry. Yeah. I give that one 4 to 5 stars. And then before I read The Dragon Reborn, I read Handmaid's Tale because I'm super late to catch on to any kind of pop culture anything. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very creepy. And not like creepy in like the same sort of way as like You was, but creepy in the way that it's very real and how that could be happening. Like it just could happen. Like it's just a thing that could happen. I'm not going to explain what it is because I feel like everyone knows what it is because it was such a big pop culture thing. I really enjoyed the story. I wish Margaret Atwood had gone a little further into detail about like the way the world works and how it sort of got to the way that it is, but I think that that's what the Testaments is, like the sequel to it. I think that's more what that is. It's a little bit more world building-y and stuff like that. So like one day I'll probably read the Testaments, but it's not today. Oh yeah, I gave that one 5 out of 5 stars as well. And before that, I read The Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. It's actually my first Joe Hill book that I've ever read. I did not realize he was Stephen King's son, or at least one of his sons. So I can understand, like, I see that now after I'd realized that, or after I learned that, I realized, oh shit. Like, after I had learned that, I can see how that works because like Stephen King's writing and Joe Hill's writing was like relatively similar in the way that they think and everything. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I don't remember a lot of the details from it. I'm gonna read more Joe Hill books though, because like it inspired me to read more Joe Hill. What is this about? Oh yes, it's about an aging rock star and his like younger girlfriend thing, I guess. And oh yeah, and he buys a ghost, which is a stupid idea, but he buys a ghost and then the ghost begins to haunt him and starts like killing people that are important to him, and now he has to protect both himself and his girlfriend thing from the ghost because it turns out, oh look, they actually care about each other, and it was kind of sweet. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars because like it was a good read and I enjoyed the whole thing, but it didn't like wow me or anything. But I think it was his first published work, so I'm excited to read more of his stuff just to see how like he improves. Before that, I read As the World Dies. Yes, no, As the World Dies is the series. I read The First Days, which is the first book of As the World Dies by Rhiannon Frater or Frater. That one, when I read the synopsis for it, kind of sounded like, oh, it's going to be, I almost said Bonnie and Clyde, but that's not it. It's, who are they? Who are those women? Who are those women? Who the fuck? Laverne and Shirley. It is. Who the fuck? Oh my god, I can't believe I have to look this up. Who drove off the cliff? Thelma and Louise. Oh my lord. Alright. So while I was reading subscriptions, no. While I was reading synopsis for that book, it kind of gave me the vibes of like Thelma and Louise, but with zombies. And that's sort of what I got for the most, like, for the beginning section of it. It was very Thelma and Louise versus zombies, and I was like really into it. And then partway through the book, they end up in this compound with a bunch of other survivors, and then it just sort of becomes like not good. I don't know. I really enjoyed the first half of the book, but then by the time they made it to like the compound with the survivors and there was like this romance subplot going between the two girls, not with each other, but with like two other dudes, I just didn't feel that invested in it anymore. And I know it's a series, I think it's a trilogy, but I'm probably never going to pick it up. It's not bad, but it wasn't what I wanted and wasn't what I expected, so I'm just not going to continue with it. And I gave that one 2 out of 5 stars. Yeah. So before that, I ended up reading The Blinding Knife by Brent Weeks. I also read The Black Prism, but I don't know when I read that. It's not in my Goodreads, so I forgot to update it, I guess, and I have no idea when I read it. But I read the first 2 books of the Lightbringer series. I think there's 4 books in it, maybe 5. Basically, it's a world where people can use color, or light, use light in different, well, I mean, light and color. Use light to use color magic. Basically, you can create objects with the colors and like craft them, and there's some really weird stuff that happens with the colors. And there's one dude who can bend all 7 colors. Most people can only bend like 1 or 2 of them. And he's known as the Prism, and he kind of like rules the world. And there's a lot of like interesting intrigue and stuff as to like the world, and there's a war that's brewing, and there's a bunch of stuff. It's been a while since I read it. I don't remember all the details of it. I remember that I enjoyed it. It was nothing super spectacular. Like, it was, both of the books I think were a 4 out of 5 for me. They were both just like really solid fantasy reads, but I can't remember anything about them other than like the magic and that. Yeah. So, according to my Goodreads, I've read 5 other books that take me back to The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, which is the last video that I uploaded on here. But I'm looking at them now, and it's been so long since I read them that I just can't actually remember most of the details from them. But I'm just going to, like, read off them just so I can, like, say that I read them just for the clout, I guess. I read, oh, I'm going to butcher this name. I read Suzanne by, oh, Lord. Anais Barbeau-Lavalette. I barely remember what that one was about. I didn't enjoy it that much. It was about a woman trying to figure out her grandma's life story. I'm butchering the synopsis, but honestly, I don't remember it. I just don't remember it. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because apparently I enjoyed it, but I don't remember anything from it. Oh yes, and then before that, I read The Woo by Lindsay Wong. Those were 2 of the 5 books that were in Canada Reads for this year, and I only read 2 of the 5 books. This one was about a girl who has a family of who all suffer from mental disorders, but like no one talks about it, no one treats it. So it's a memoir, so it's nonfiction, and it just kind of follows their family and how they sort of survive and cope with like all of them having all these disorders, but no one ever talking about it or dealing with it and like the consequences of it. That one was really good. I enjoyed that one a lot. It was an upsetting read, but a good read. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. Before that, I read Every Dead Thing by John Connolly, which is the first book of the Charlie Parker series. I don't know if I'm going to continue with it because, like, it was fine. It was just, like, detective, gritty, discovery, murder thing. And I just, like, yeah, it was cool, but I mean, there's other things I could read. I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars because I liked it, but I don't know if I want to ever continue with it. Before that, I read John Dies in the End by David Wong? Yeah, David Wong. That one I enjoyed. It was a horror comedy. It was funny in some parts, and it was like, gross and creepy. It was a little bit too I don't want to say immature. The humor was a little too lowbrow for me in a lot of parts. Like there was some things that were just like thrown in there for shock value. There was a lot of like was there a lot of fart jokes? I remember there being like a lot of fart jokes and shit jokes and stuff like that. And I just like it was funny, but it wasn't for me. So I don't know if I'll ever continue that series. So yeah. And finally going all the way back to October of 2018 because like I went deep. Like these are deep cut books. That's why I can't remember a lot of things. I read the first Mistborn book by Brandon Sanderson. I enjoyed it, as I assumed I would, because everyone keeps talking about how amazing it is, and I finally dove into it, and I read the first book, and I liked it. I'm gonna continue it eventually. It's been an entire year since I read it, like, read the first one, so, like, I'm gonna be a little rusty when I dive back into it, but, like, one day, I will read more Brandon Sanderson. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, lordy. All right, so that was it. That was a lot of books that actually that wasn't a lot of books. That was like an entire year's worth of reading that I summarized in 12, 15 minutes. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. Um, yeah, I didn't have a great reading year. I didn't have a great reading year. I'm hoping this year is a little bit better. It's already, I mean, it's November. I mean, like this year is in like 2020 sort of thing. Already it's turning out to be pretty good. I finished 2 books this month already, and it's November 4th. So hopefully I remember to film more things and keep up to date. I don't remember if I have an outro. I don't know. Oh, though, if you want, leave a comment down below if you've read anything that I've read and you agree with my opinions, you don't, just like throw them down there. If you have anything that you think I might read or I might enjoy reading based on what I've talked about and like what you can glean from my taste from this like word vomit that's coming out of my mouth, leave it in the description below because I'm not in the description, leave it in the comments below and I'll probably read it. I tell you to subscribe, but I don't know if I upload consistently enough for that to even matter, but if you want to, cool, do that. Yeah, I'm gonna go now because I'm done talking. Bye.